that not until verse 12, God directly answered the prayer that Solomon prayed for? So what I'm trying to say is in the waiting time, they celebrated. In the waiting time, they worshiped. In the waiting time, they brought their offering. In the waiting time, together as a community came together and praised God, saying, you are good, you are faithful, before God even responded. Just because the presence of the Lord was there. Just because they knew he was good. They knew he was faithful before he even responded. I love that. My word for this year was celebrate. And I thought that was kind of a funny word to choose, and some people roasted me for that, and I was like, cool. But I love to celebrate. And the reason they thought it was funny is they're like, Sadie, you celebrate everything. Like, you celebrate St. Patrick's Day. And I'm like, yeah, I get my green. Like, I love to celebrate. I love a good party. I love to make a party when there's nothing to party about. Like, I love celebration. I love laughing. I love my friends. Celebrate, good times, come on. But, got that? Thank you. Hey. Okay, so, anywho, I love to celebrate, but I've learned a lot about celebration that I actually didn't really understand before. Because like I said, I will celebrate when there's something to celebrate. Like, I'm gonna celebrate when my friends are together. I'm gonna celebrate the good times. I'm gonna celebrate when everything's going good. But how many of you know it's really hard to celebrate when nothing's really going right? It's really hard to celebrate when you are dragging your feet and nothing's really coming the right way. But Philippians 4:4 taught me a lot about celebration. It says, rejoice in the Lord. I'll say it again, rejoice. But in the Message translation, it says, celebrate all day, every day. I mean, revel in the Lord. Do you know that word revel means to be noisy about your celebration? All day, every day. What does that even look like, What does it look like to celebrate all day, every day, loudly for Jesus? Even when you're waiting, even when you're worried, even when it's hard. It looks like these people. It looks like these people that they could celebrate because they understood that the presence of God was with them. And even though God didn't directly respond to them, they still knew he was good. Even though God didn't directly respond to them yet, they still knew he was working. Even though he didn't directly answer and say, I hear you when you pray for this, they felt the presence of God, and that was enough for them to worship. And I think we can learn a lot from that. So I want us to look at 3 things. I'm gonna make 3 points that we can really focus on in the waiting. So that way, when you're in the season of waiting, you can be like, wait, boom, 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 I'm celebrating. First thing is, I think I have the point on the board. Yep, focus on the relationship. So what does this look like? Well, basically, I wanted to make this point because I think sometimes we kind of get a little twisted in the way that we are choosing to time our celebration, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is this. Sometimes we are like, you know what? I'm gonna ask you, God, for something, and then depending on your response, is gonna determine how I feel about our relationship. And I don't really think God works like that. I actually think a relationship comes first. And in the waiting, you work on that relationship. You get to know God for just being God. You get to know God for the character of who he is. You get to know that you know that you know that he's good and that his faithful love endures forever. And then from knowing the character of who he is, then you can even, by his grace, be worthy to come to the throne and ask for something. And I think that sometimes we just get that flip. It's almost like when you're little, like you're a little kid at Christmas. It's like no 7-year-old is like, I cannot wait for Christmas time to spend it with my family and sit around the table and sing Christmas carols